You log into Xero. Okay, I've already logged in, and you'll come to the dashboard. It will look something like this screen depending on which tab you've landed on and depending on the access that you've been granted by the administrator. Okay, so to create an invoice, you simply look for this cross sign right here and click on that and create new invoice, or sometimes it's a quote, and those will really be the only two that you will use. Okay, so here we're going to click on invoice and it will take us to the invoice screen too. So let's say we're creating an invoice for Bunnings. It will see that we've already got Bunnings Morwell as a contact because they're a previous customer of ours. So always check here to make sure we haven't already got the customer in the system. But let's say we're doing a job for Bunnings in, let's say, Bairnsdale, and no contacts found. That's because we haven't worked for them before. So you would just go ahead and fill out Bunnings Bairnsdale, and then you would just add Bunnings Bairnsdale as a new contact. Okay, so let's pretend, but we need to do Bunnings. So we're going to go with Bunnings Morwell. The date, this date will always be today's date, and the due date should be 1 week before the booking. So Bunnings wants to book us for the 29th of August. That's when we'll actually do the work. But this invoice will actually be due 1 week prior to our booking, because that's when we ask for the full payment, and the reference will be whatever the event is that they're booking us for. So usually it's it might be I'm not sure what the August one is, but it might be, say, Mother's Day family night, and say if whatever the month it is, August 2019, please put the month and the date, because this reference is really handy if you have to search back on previous invoices to find out what we've charged them in the past. The branding is the invoice template that the customer will see, and for me, I have different invoice templates. I've got one for hair and makeup and one for live music. So obviously for Fizzy Face it will be here. Okay, next we're going to select the item, and all you do is you click anywhere and it will bring up this little drop down arrow box. And that will give you the option of items to choose from. So you can see that they're already in there. Say if a customer, so have a bit of a look through, can't go wrong. So if they're booking a jumping castle, you would just click on the jumping castle and it will auto-populate the description here, as you can see, and the price is already in there. The account that it's logged against is already in there. Now this account section is used for management if they would like to see how many jumping castle sales we've had, and we can run a report on that. So that's the purpose of this account. The tax rate, look, GST, it's actually GST on, don't worry too much about that. Fizzy Face is not registered to collect GST, so the main thing is that GST free income. Anyway, just leave that as it is. GST inclusive. Yeah, so we need to have 0 GST. I'm sorry about that. I have to double check. So that the GST part's important to get right. So if you go, I'm trying to remember, I think it was BAS excluded. It's tax inclusive, but it's BAS excluded. That's right, because we are not registered for GST. We don't have to put BAS statements in every quarter. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, so let's say okay, so let's start again. Let's say you already know what they'd like to book. So actually Mother's Day family night, they want to book face painting. So you should actually add that to the reference as well. Face painting. And I could just start typing face painting here, and it will bring up the items that are already in there that are relevant to face painting, so you can select which one. So this one will be our 1 hour face painting or balloon twisting. So I'm going to click on that, and that's what you'll copy and paste into Google Calendar. So Face, so you just delete what's not relevant. So they're booking Face artist for 2 hours dressed in Fizzy uniform, or if they've requested something else, write it there. The event type, Mother's Day Family Night 2019. The theme, if that's relevant, you put the date in. So you need to write the day, Thursday, and the date, 29th August 2019. So you need to write it out like this so there's no mistake about which day it is, as opposed to just putting in the date. Then it can be confusing, just in case people, it's just a better practice to put the actual day so that the client knows you've got the day right and the date right. There's no misunderstandings about it. So if it's a birthday party, you'd fill out the name, age and gender of the child and replace that there. But for Bunnings, we don't need that. So the time of the face paint booking, there it's usually 6 till 8, something like that, 6 till 8 p.m. The address, so for kids' parties, you'd put the address, but here it's Bunnings Morwell. Contact on the day at Bunnings, whoever's booked us, pop their details there and their phone number, 51 blah, 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 whatever it is. The email of this person, I think it's activities organiser, Barb at Bunnings. Just pop their email there, so that all gets filled out. The number of artists they've booked, one face painter, how many kids they're expecting. If you have asked them the question, that's awesome. You can put maybe 50 kids because it's really good for our artists to get a bit of an idea of how busy they might be. And the age range of the children, and also when we're taking the booking, please ask, if you've spoken to them on the phone, ask them where they've heard about us, like whether it was a ad on Facebook or they've seen us previously or they've worked with us previously. That's really good to know. It helps us with marketing. And now in this section you put the invoice number, which you just grab from the top here. So it's invoice 1257, and I'm doing the booking, booked by Julianne, and if you put today's date, the date that you've raised this invoice, like that. Okay. And of course, 2 hours, I need to change the quantity because it's $100 an hour unless we've given them a discount. So sometimes we might give it to them for $80 an hour because they're a repeat customer. Sometimes it's more or less depending on who it is. And you can put in a 20% discount if it's relevant, and it shows the customer down the bottom here the discount that they've received. Okay, so that's 2 hours and it adds it all up, $160. So once you've finished and you're happy with that, if you would click approve, but if you're still working on it, it's good practice to hit save, and then you haven't sent it to the customer yet, still sitting there. So you can see I'm working on another invoice that was there for Mid-Valley. Okay, so, all right, now if we go to approve, we will approve it. And then it's, okay, we're ready to email this invoice to the customer. Okay, so what we're going to do is click on email. Really easy, their email address goes in there. Now, because Bunnings is a previously entered customer in the system, their email address has already been entered, so there it is. But if it's a brand new customer, you'll need to fill out the customer's email address here, and you'll also need to fill out their contact information in the to section. So you would click edit address and you would put all of their information in here. The sale email template is, if it's a brand new sale, then it's a sales invoice. Other email templates we have is when we're trying to collect money, maybe people haven't paid or they've forgotten to pay. So this one is a first attempt at collecting, and we'd say a friendly reminder for this invoice. We understand if you've been busy and may have forgotten all about it, so this is a friendly reminder. It's always a good practice, especially when you're learning, just to read through this message that the customer will receive so that you can be sure that it reads well, and because sometimes you might need to change something. For instance, here I would be putting the FizzyFace phone number, not my phone number anymore, and just retype it as the FizzyFace number, which I don't know off the top of my head. So you just put that there, yours sincerely, and you would just write your name and your position. Yep, and then you just press send. I'm not going to press send because otherwise Bunnings will actually get this. So I'm going to cancel it. But if you'd like to see what the customer will see, if you just go print PDF, it won't actually print it to your printer, but it will demonstrate it on screen. And you can at this point tell the Xero that you've actually sent it to the customer or not sent it. So I'm just going to say leave it as is because I haven't sent it to the customer. But sometimes I will actually email this invoice using my email program rather than emailing it within Xero. So if I'm doing it that way around, when I go print PDF, I'll say mark as sent because I have actually sent it through using my other email program. So that gives me that option. Okay, so here is what the invoice will look like that the customer will see. So you can have a look. It's got the invoice number. Here's our reference that we put in. There's our ABN. And here are the details. There they go. And it tells the customer down the bottom the due date. Our 50% deposit is required within 48 hours to confirm their booking. Balance due in full 1 week prior to the event day. This applies to private parties only. Corporate organisations, the balance is due as per the due date and late fees may apply. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. But this is really important for the private parties like parents and mums and whatnot, because in the past, we've done parties and not got payment. So it's really important that everyone is paid in full before we attend. And here is our banking information and our little cancellation policies. And if people would like to pay via cheque, that is okay. They'd send it to me, Julianne Bremner, at that address, and they would cut this off and pop it in an envelope along with their cheque. And that is how you create an invoice. Now the next step we do is enter this into Google Calendar. So what you do is you copy, and go to Google Calendar. I have to probably log into my Google Calendar. So I'm just going to log in Google. There's my password. Here it is. Okay, so log into Google Calendar. Next, put in my password. Okay, just waiting for that to load. And now you will see the Fizzy calendar. I'll get rid of everything else just to make it easy. I've coloured my FizzyFace calendar orange, so you can see there's today's date, and here are some tasks for today. I did nursery rhyme time at Mid Valley today, and also I'm just going to edit that because Merrin came along for some training. So, and you can save that, save this event, just this event. Okay, would you like Google Calendar to send update emails to existing calendar people, guests? No, don't send. Okay, but it will save what I've put in. All right, so for the Bunnings booking, 29th of August, to add this to the calendar, I simply click that box and I'm going to say need artist at this point because I haven't asked anybody to do this booking yet. And I'm going to say face painting, 2 hours, Bunnings. And then I click the description and I right click my mouse and paste, because you will remember when we went in Xero, we copied this for the purpose of then pasting it over to here. Now, our artists will see this information, so what they don't need to see is this payment terms section because it's not relevant for them. So I clean this up a little bit. They don't really need Barb's email address, but oops, they will need her phone number just in case they might be running late or something. So you can clean it up a little bit, but that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to click save. And once it's saved, you just need to make sure you've added it. You're in August. It will show you up the top where you are, and then it's the right date, Thursday, 29th of August. And I'm going to click on it again, and I'm going to click onto this edit event because that brings up more information. Here I will uncheck the event to be all day and actually enter in the relevant time, which is 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, and I'll add the location, Bunnings, which is good because this will come up on Google Maps, so the artist can just click on their Google Calendar address and their GPS will take them to the job. Guests, if I'm booking Dempsey in for the face painting job, I click that, and then when I save it, Dempsey will automatically receive a calendar invite requesting her to confirm her attendance at this job. So I won't do that right now. And then also because Dempsey has said, yes, I'd love to do that job, I'd put her name in here. That's it. And sometimes I like to add, Dempsey confirmed via Facebook Messenger on the 24th. And I do that particularly for newer people that perhaps might not be as reliable for jobs, so that when they say, oh, I didn't know about that job, and I'll say, well, actually, you said that you were able to do it on the 24th, and I can screenshot the message that we had that conversation just to make that person accountable. But obviously Dempsey has never had any problems with that, so I don't really bother, but it's a good habit to get into. So if you just sort of write that, or maybe you spoke to them on the phone call, or maybe it was an SMS on my personal phone, or maybe it was on the fizzy phone. So that way you know where the message was if you ever have to refer back to it. And that is how you will book in a job. So I'm just going to get rid of that now. So I hope that was really easy and gives you a bit of an overview. Now I'm just going to delete this invoice, but hang on first. Show 2 entries. This just shows you the history. So we created the invoice tonight and then we approved it. There'll be an extra one there if you've emailed it from Xero that says emailed on the 24th, which is really handy because sometimes you might create this invoice and you actually forget to email it to the customer. So you can actually look here in the history, show history, and see whether you've emailed it or not. So that's really handy. That's a handy one to know. Don't worry about this section. Okay, that's only, don't even worry about that. What else can I show you? I wonder what this preview does. I never really, oh yeah, that's another way to preview the invoice. That's handy actually. I never use that. There you go. Learn something every day. Oh, and a mobile device. Oh, so the customer. That's pretty cool. They look at it on their phone. That's what they will see. What's this one? Oh, if you need to include any files with the invoice, you would just drag and drop it there. But I've never had to do that. Invoice options. Okay, so now because I want to void, get rid of this invoice, delete it because it's just for a demonstration, I'm just going to click void. But in fact, I might just leave it there because Dempsey can take over from here because this is going to be a real booking, but that information isn't correct. But yeah, if you did make a mistake, or sometimes a customer will cancel their booking. I'm sorry, look, I just don't have the money for the party this week and we're not going to worry about booking a birthday party in the end for this child for this year. So we've raised an invoice, you would come here and void it out. And similarly, if you need to make any amendments, it actually like 5 hours of face painting, then you would come here and you'd edit the invoice and you change it to 5 hours. You'd say update, and then you would re-email the invoice to the customer. Email. I'm glad we came back here because we didn't look at this sales. This is, hang on, the sales invoice is the one, booking confirmation. That's the main one you'll use. So, dear Bunnings, it should say. Bunnings Morwell. Thank you for booking with Fizzy Face. So you can read through that. It tells them everything they need to do. Our policies. So when you're new to this, read through all of this because then you're aware of our policies. So that just in case the customer asks you about that, which they usually don't. And as you can see, we say here about taking photos that we imply permission to take photos of the kids, but if it's not okay, then they need to let us know in advance. So that covers us for taking photos. And that's really it. So then you click send. You can send, actually I would just leave that. Just leave all of that. All is well. So when the customer gets the email, it comes from our Fizzy Face Painting email address. And if they want to reply, because they might say, oh, I'm going to send the payment next week if that's okay, then I get the email and I just say, oh, no problem, thanks for letting us know. All right, and that concludes our little Xero training.